Before we get going, I'd like to introduce Jamie and Leona, talking about laying the tracks, transforming Darlington's railway heritage into a world-class attraction. Please welcome them.
You go. That one? On the lead.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. So Leona and I will be talking about Hopetown, a project that was delivered last year, and it is the latest visitor attraction to be delivered in the north.
So Hopetown, Darlington is delivered by Darlington Borough Council. We're a local authority museum visitor attraction. And we work closely, obviously, with PLB, Workhouse, Figment and Fusion on the project, which opened in 2024, July 2024, last year. So I'm Leona White-Hannant. I'm the Development Director at Hopetown Darlington, so I oversee the programming on the site, and I was part of the project team for this redevelopment project.
And I am the creative director at PLB. Our company was employed to be the lead consultant on the project, and we had our partners who worked with us, but actually the project grew and grew, and the amount of people involved became quite large that came underneath our banner.
So we'll go over the journey behind the creation of Hopetown Darlington, PLB's role and how they're involved with the design of the project, in particular the interpretation on site, the project challenges and innovations, and also we'll reflect on delivery impact and what's next for Hopetown Darlington in 2025 and onwards. So, what is Hopetown? Hopetown Darlington is a £37 million regeneration project. We aim to develop a new visitor attraction in the north of England. Previously, we had a museum on the site. It was called Head of Steam. As I mentioned, local authority museum, Darlington Borough Council led. We attracted around 45,000 visitors a year, and we were a paid for venue at the time. So the council wanted to create a new family-friendly destination that looked at the origins of the railways in Darlington and the Stockton-Darlington Railway, ready for the bicentenary in 2025. We were aiming to attract an audience of about 300,000 when we opened, and we were going from a single building, which was Head of Steam, to a multi-building site across about 7 acres of land. So obviously a really big kind of expansion of the offer for the visitors. So the project started in about 2018-2019 initially, when Darlington Borough Council started pulling together the master plan for what at the time the working title was the Rail Heritage Quarter. We weren't quite sure how it was going to work across the site, and we did a lot of consultation, but the one thing we did know was we wanted to celebrate the rail heritage in the lead up to the bicentenary Stockton-Darlington Railway. Darlington played a really big role in the railways, and they wanted to celebrate that and kind of make the community proud and shout about how it influenced the railways across the world and our kind of part in that. So initially we had £20 million through Tees Valley Combined Authority, and that was our budget at the start. Tees Valley Combined Authority, TVCA, business-minded, and they wanted to bring economic growth to the region. So it was really tourism-led, bringing jobs to the region, to Darlington and Tees Valley, and also bringing tourism in, so people would be coming in, spending their money in the local area, staying in the hotels and visiting all the different tourism spots across the region. So 2025, really important for tourism, but also we, as part of the project, we wanted to also raise pride in the local community, and for us to be like a community hub. Sometimes the old site felt like maybe the community didn't feel it was theirs, they didn't always know we were here. So really, from the start, we wanted to make sure they're aware we were here and get their input into the project as well. So the project wanted to be accessible not only to the local community, but to our visitors as well. But we also wanted to tell the story of Darlington and its rail heritage through immersive, technology-rich storytelling, which is where PLB came in.
So what was PLB's role? So we served as the lead exhibition designer and interpretation consultant throughout the project. So PLB's team delivered immersive digital, physical experiences. We collaborated with our AV partners. We brought digital media, fabrication specialists, all really to bring this vision to life for the client team. So we started off with our conceptual design, planning of the space, taking that all the way through to final installation, including a National Lottery Heritage Fund application. So we ensured that there was a cohesive narrative that ran across the whole areas, and it all tied together all of the historic buildings along with all of these contemporary interactive exhibits that we were to put in. So the design brief, so the task was really thinking about how you can reimagine a historic railway site with structures like Skerne Bridge, built in 1825, the Goods Shed, built in 1833, and also the North Road Station. So the aim was to take these and use those to be core to part of this visitor experience, but to make the spaces accessible, to make them engaging and also educational. So we had to integrate inclusive design, play, learning opportunities to appeal both to families and railway enthusiasts. And as Leona said, we were unashamedly aiming at a local family Darlington audience to really open up their heritage for them. So our key messages, the things we wanted people to learn, was really how Darlington changed the world. The overarching concept focused on two main subjects, which were Darlington providing a strong sense of place through its railway history, and an understanding that really it happened here in Darlington, the journey through the site and the impact that passenger railways had on the wider world and globally. So our themes were global innovation, the birth of the modern railway, the first day. So over 10,000 people witnessed the first ever ride of the first passenger steam train, locomotive number 1, on in Darlington on the 27th of September 1825, and to build on that for the bicentenary this year. And then Darlington Then and Now. So the railway heritage of Darlington is all around everybody, and the innovation is still being driven today. So this is a picture of Skerne Bridge. As I said, Skerne Bridge is one of the oldest working railway bridges in the world, and this is Tornado, one of the newest built steam engines in the world being run across it. So it shows that the heritage is still tangible today, and we're still living that. It's a branch line, it runs up to the museum, people can go to North Road Station, running all the way through to
Bishop Auckland to Saltburn.
Bishop Auckland, Saltburn, thank you. So our initial concepts were really driven by journeys. So taking people on a journey taking them through the engineering history and this idea of time travel through those spaces. So we developed thematic zones. We looked at not being wedded to chronological order, however, the chronology being important as part of telling the story of passenger railway development. But we really focused on layered storytelling. So on previous audience research, we looked at how we sketch that development using mood boards as guides and really taking a unique direction to the design response that we had. So as part of the design evolution, prototyping was critical with that, and it went through every phase. So the picture you can see is our artist Andrew McEwen, who worked with local schools to start to develop some of the public art that was put into the site. We also tested with our partners Fusion and Figment, holograms, augmented reality characters, all new technology, but making sure that we could apply them as robustly as possible for a space that we knew would actually have a lot of visitors coming to it this year. And we also then incorporated that community feedback that we had to refine those designs to hopefully give something that was relevant to the people of Darlington, that they felt part of, and something that they could feel proud of. A lot of the things that we had to look at was adapting those displays to fit with the original heritage. We wanted it to be authentic, but we also wanted it to feel fresh, modern, new way of people being able to access that. So key features that we have there. So some of the standout ones is we developed these magic mirrors that actually provide a chance for people to step into the heritage with the heritage scene in their own photographs. One of the things that we found very important when we did our consultations was that these items could be free, so people weren't having to pay for them as an extra, so they could feel that they were born into that. We developed augmented reality characters that helped to tell those stories through the site, but they also appear within the interpretation. So there are different touch points where you begin to understand the people that actually worked there, what they did, and why they are so important, giving that sort of emotional connection to the story. Darlington built locomotives were also important. So we built a huge hologram display, which was 5 meters by 3.5 meters, where they could actually roll into the goods shed, similar to the way they would have been done when they were built. There's an incredible immersive time travel ride where we used motion-based technology and all kind of 4D effects to take that forwards, which again provides that sort of link, that tangible link in a new modern way. But the one thing we did want to be was authentic. We wanted it to be conservation-led, conservation standard for all of the object displays that supported that narrative. So, as I mentioned, innovation was at the heart of the project. Thanks to the National Lottery, we were able to look at developing an incredible immersive experience that incorporated, as I said, lots of multi-sensory elements. And the idea was that it took people back in time to the start, but also then took people through to the future of Darlington and its link to railway heritage. The digital content was seamlessly integrated within a brand new architectural piece that allows the client team at Darlington to host about 60 people per hour at its maximum capacity. But access didn't stop with just digital. Access came through things like illustration, comic artists. So we commissioned an illustrator called Stevie Cram and a colorist, Stevie White and his colorist Finn Cram, who have been involved in things like the Beano and the Brooms. And what they were able to do was bring to life those stories in this sort of animated way, giving a slightly different access point for those people that came in to see it. We also looked at layered interpretation, so telling the story very clearly in a hierarchy, allowing people that access. But on this project, we looked at using symbols called widgets. So widgets will be recognised for those people involved in schools. So they're a system of visual supports that aid communication, language, learning for those people with different needs. But actually they enabled you to go around and actually tell the story without having to go through the digital layers or read through all the copy, giving that sort of basis of what the experience was about.
Oh, challenges, that's me. Oh, there was a lot of challenges with the redevelopment. The main one being we were actually a really small team. So we were very lucky because we're a local authority that we had a project team, a capital project team that dealt with kind of more the construction side of things. But as a small team, there's only myself and Alison who really dealt with the interpretation and the collection and that side of things. So that was quite difficult. And a lot of, in the first year of the redevelopment, we were actually still doing outreach. We had a project called Museum on the Move, where we're still going out into the community and working with them. We were doing outreach with schools. We were still putting on events and activities. We still even had Santa at a community centre at Christmas. So we were still going out there, keeping our name out there. Obviously, we were changing our name, but making them aware of the redevelopment project. So that was quite challenging on our time. The other challenges included working with so many listed buildings. So 2 of the buildings are Grade 2 star listed. The Good Shed was actually on the risk register with Historic England, so that had many challenges. The museum, North Road Station Museum, is Grade 2 star listed. We don't actually own that building. That is owned by Network Rail because it's still a working train station. So everything we did, we had to go through our landlords and check they were happy with any changes we were making. The Carriage Works as Grade 2 listed. We had tenants in both the Carriage Works and the Good Shed, and before we could start any work we had to relocate them. They were going to still stay on the site as part of the offer because we felt that was so important, that that kind of rail heritage, that engineering was still on the site. It was such an important part of the STEM offer on the site. But before we could actually do any of the redevelopment, we had to find locations. So while the museum was still open, we had a new build going on across the railway tracks. As Jamie says, we're still a station and you can get the train. So across the railway tracks, we had the engineering workshop being built, which at times was quite interesting because the museum would shake while we're open. So we built that to allow the A1 Steam Locomotive Trust to be moved into there out of the carriage works, and they built Tornado, who you saw on Skirn Bridge there. They're currently building the P2 Prince of Wales. And then the other 2 tenants, Darlington Railway Preservation Society and Nelpeg, they had to be moved out of the site over to another building, 1861 Shed, which is slightly outside of the Vista offer. It's further down the track. And that was, luckily that building wasn't listed, but it was owned by Network Rail. It was in a terrible state, and that had to be restored before they could move in. So there was lots of kind of pieces of the puzzle before we could actually get on with the redevelopment in itself. We worked with lots of different teams. Our contractor Wilmot Dixon oversaw a lot of that liaising with the different contractors. So we always went through them, and that could sometimes be a bit difficult just because there's so many people involved with the project. And also the Capital team, obviously they weren't from a museum or heritage background. They had their remit and they understood what they wanted from the project, but sometimes it was quite difficult for kind of my team to get across what we needed as a museum and as a heritage venue. We are now called a visitor attraction, not just a museum. We have a museum at the heart of it. So trying to get them to understand when we're asking for conservation quality cases and they were value engineering and they're saying, oh, you don't need that. We're like, well, yeah, we really, really do need that. It's, it's not something we can cut, and there's quite a few discussions about maintaining those as part of the museum displays. I think as well it was just really important to make sure that it was still authentic to Darlington and the heritage was accurate. It was really good that our project team and our senior management team were really on board with the site being playful and family focused, but sometimes we had to remind them that we had to be historically accurate and correct. We also had a heritage audience and a rail heritage audience that we wanted them to respect the work we had done. We didn't want them to just see it like kind of a creche or kind of, I don't know. What do you...
Well, although we were aiming at families, we wanted it to have a wider appeal so that people could come to Darlington and feel that they understood the connection with that. So quite a lot of the interpretation that we looked at putting had a sort of deep delve so people could find more, so they could find that information that suited them. Rail heritage enthusiasts coming to see something wanted to feel that they've seen something tangible and that the information was correct and true and wasn't just about the interactivity on the site.
Right. So at the start of the project, we wanted to ensure that we spoke to different users and non-users of the site, and also throughout the project we wanted to make sure that we collaborated with different audiences. So here we can see Andrew McEwen, who is a local Middlesbrough-based artist who we worked with on a number of artworks throughout the site, and he worked with school children and other groups on our site. We have a railway coffee morning for railway employees who used to work at railway works or actually on the railways, and he worked with those on the artworks on the site. So we have a number of different artworks. We have ticket nippers, which I'll talk a little bit about in a minute. We have a turntable, which is a beautiful piece of art in the middle of Foundry Green where our field is, and that looks at the different railway occupations, and he worked with the railway coffee. I say gents, women are invited, but we never have any women to that, so the railway coffee gentlemen on what occupations should be included. So what we wanted to do was make sure there were some occupations that the public would understand, but some different ones that maybe would make them ask some questions and want to learn a little bit more about the railway heritage. And we also collaborated with a local school on our play area as well. So we worked with Capco on our bespoke play area on the site, which is based on Bristleton Incline. So everything we've done on the site is steeped in our rail heritage, and that was so important to us. So Capco worked with the school group to keep them involved. It's a local school, they're just down the road with us, and they had a great time kind of helping with the designs and getting an understanding of what goes into designing the play area. Okay, so you can see here some ticket nippers. This is some of the artwork across the site. Andrew McEwen had looked at our archive collection and we'd found a book from the North Eastern Railway, I think it was from 1905, and in this book is a number of different shapes. So when you go on the train, you've got your ticket nipped, and the different shapes relate to the journey on the railways. So in theory, you could look at a ticket and work out the journey they'd taken. So he was inspired by that piece of evidence he'd found in our archives and wanted to make some sculpture based on that. So he worked with local school children, they produced these in clay, and help design them, and also help decide what words were going to go on this piece of public art across the site. And here they are in situ. Jamie's included our favourite one of fire. During the redevelopment, the contractor put a fire extinguisher next to the fire ticket nipper, which we always like to see. So these are all across the site. They're a really nice way to engage with our rail heritage. They're part of a trail, so visitors can pick up a trail at the start of their journey, try and find them all, and then rather than just ticking off the names, we encourage them to do different activities based on what the words are. I'm not going to show you what they are, but it's a way to kind of engage and be active on the site as well. Okay, so the finished results. So we opened on the 16th of July 2024. It was quite a tight deadline, as all these projects are. I think we had about, well, I know for the for the carriage works, the stores, we were supposed to have 4 weeks to move in all of our collection. It ended up being about a week and a half, and we were still working around people painting and cleaning. It was very, very stressful. But we got open on time. We wanted to open just before the school holidays. So obviously that peak visitor time. When we opened, we couldn't believe how positive the feedback was. We knew we'd be popular with families, and that was great, but what we didn't realise is how popular we were with the Rail Heritage Group as well. Some of the organisations on site who I mentioned previously had been on the site since the 1980s, and they had, I would say, quite a fixed view on what they thought rail heritage is and what it should look like. One of the gentlemen's in his 80s, and I thought, oh goodness me, on the opening day when he came up to me, I thought he's going to tell me it's not for him, he doesn't like it, and he was full of compliments, and for me that was so important because it meant that we'd achieved what we wanted. We captured that family audience offer, but also the rail heritage offer as well. So we had really great feedback, and we continue to have really good feedback. We feel like we are part of that community. The local community are coming to us. We can see that. We can see them walking up to the site rather than driving. When we're getting feedback and talking to them, we know they're from the local area, and that's an audience we didn't really attract before. I don't think they felt that the site was for them, but now with it being free to enter, it means they can come in and enjoy the heritage for free. We've been really lucky as well because we have won quite a few awards recently. So a few weeks after we opened, Visit England came to do the VACROS visit, and I was rather worried about that, but we won a Welcome Award for that, so we're really proud of that. We've won a North East Culture Award for Best Museum or Cultural Venue. We won the Visitor Economy Award at County Durham Together Awards, and Heritage Railway Association Awards. We won the Special Award for Railway 200, and we also won the Heritage Railway Magazine Interpretation Award. Obviously we're shortlisted tonight for Best Digital UK for Experiment, which is really exciting, and I found out today we're also shortlisted for the Royal Town Planning Institute Awards as well. So they keep on coming in. It's more than we could ever have imagined. We're really proud of the site because of that.
So we're just going to show you a very quick video, 2 minutes, and then we'll tell you about some of the challenges.
On the 27th of September 1825, engineer George Stephenson made history by driving locomotion number 1 over Skerne Bridge and into Darlington. This historic moment marked the birth of passenger railways, a revolutionary advancement that would soon spread across the northeast and eventually the world. Hopetown Darlington is an award-winning, family-friendly and accessible heritage visitor attraction in the northeast of England, dedicated to celebrating this pioneering achievement. Funded and supported by the National Lottery Heritage Fund, Historic England, Darlington Borough Council and Tees Valley Combined Authority, Hopetown spans 7.5 acres and features North Road Station Museum, an artisan cafe and shop, a railway-themed adventure play park, and a groundbreaking immersive time travel ride, Experiment. A team of specialists, led by project consultants PLB Projects, included strategic partners Figment Productions, Fusion and The Workhouse, worked collaboratively to deliver over 50 fun interactive exhibits across the museum and wider Hopetown. These accessible, engaging displays bring the birthplace of passenger railways to life, offering dynamic, family-friendly experiences. Visitors can meet pre-filmed historical characters through magic mirror screens, witness full-scale CG recreations of locomotives in the goods shed, and explore animated portraits and busts that bring almost 200 years of history to life. Special photo opportunities throughout the museum also allow visitors to capture and share their experiences on social media. An AR app was developed and released on iOS and Google Play app stores. It allows visitors to scan QR codes at 12 locations around Hopetown and meet a range of diverse historical characters who share their knowledge about the historical site. Within just 2 months of opening, Hopetown Darlington welcomed over 51,000 visitors, quickly establishing itself as a must-visit, world-class heritage attraction in the northeast of England.
So I think some of the things to take away is it was really important to stay focused on our vision and what we were trying to achieve through the project. We were close to the public for 1.5 years while the project took place, and it was really important, from start to finish, to make sure that we didn't stray away from the vision. We worked with obviously lots of different contractors across the project, and it was really important just to make sure that we were consistent and we worked really closely with them, and if we weren't happy with things we spoke about it, and we kept kind of putting our view across, and they came up with great ideas as well, so kind of that collaborative approach. We made sure that we were talking to our audience and our local community to make sure we were delivering what they wanted. And also we were testing what we were going to put into the museum and across the site as well. For example, when we were doing some of the interactives for the museum to make sure they worked, I'd take them home to my family. My 2 boys tested quite a few of the games across the site to make sure they worked and they understood it, because they were probably like 4 and 8 at the time, so that was the audience we were trying to attract. And if they understood it without too much prompting from me, then we knew the families would understand it as well.
So,
yeah.
So this was one of the big surprises. So an unexpected challenge that came along. Collection, we've called it, but it wasn't just collection. It was locomotive number 1, which at the start of 2021, Darlington were notified that it was being moved to Locomotion's new hall, and that's the NRM satellite site at Children. Without such a key big exhibit, the question was, what are we going to do? And in a meeting we said, we'll just build one. And that's what they asked us to do. So we actually created our own locomotive number 1. But surprises along the way, and these are happy coincidences that come along, is we found out that Dr. Michael Bailey and engineer Peter Davison had spent years researching what the actual very first day locomotive number 1 looked like. Didn't look like anything like the one that went preserve, which was I think 4th in the series. So we were able to use that, and you can see how happy they are. So everything they did was on paper, and all of a sudden they got to see it 1-to-1 scale delivered in the museum. This was another one which we found was quite good. So working with the artist, which was Andy, this is Corten steel. If you don't know, Corten steel doesn't come in a sort of orangey colour. It creates its own surface to do that. So the first pictures you'll see is it in its kind of shiny metal form, and it weathers and it creates a protective seal over it. But it's really expensive. So when you give it to a manufacturing fabricator and they spend a lot of money on it, they decide it has special branding on it that shows it's real, so they put it all on the outside. So you can see in the end picture, we ended up with loads of numbers and marks and everything saying, which took us days to have them removed and polished off. So just one of those things that was another challenge that just came along.
So one of the interesting things with the project is when we were developing it, it was predicted that maybe the museum wouldn't have everyone going through it. Only a percentage of visitors to the site would visit the museum. But what we're finding is that everyone who visited the site is going through the museum and absolutely loving it. So on top of the offer we have permanently, we have a lot of activities and programming on site. When we opened, we had Brick Journeys, which was a Lego exhibition through Warren Elsmore in the exhibition hall in the Carriage Works, which was really well received. We have activities such as Hopetown at Halloween, Christmas in the Carriage Works, where we had an interactive trail. Railway Pioneers exhibition, that's our current exhibition in the exhibition hall for SNDR 200 Festival. We have Locomotion Number 1, the original, is back for this exhibition along with 2 replica locomotives. We've got Penny Darren and Steam Elephant, and they're showing the engineering kind of developments leading up to 1825. And then recently we had our VE Day celebration. We were the Darlington Borough Council's location for that, which was really nice. It just kind of said that we were part of the community as they were using us as their venue for the celebration. And we had our busiest day. We had nearly 3,000 people through the site on that day, so it was really nice and well received from the public.
So one other thing we did is we had it independently evaluated as well, and those people of Darlington that responded have scored the site at 4.8 out of 5, and the evaluator that we use said they've never seen anything come back like that. So we know that it sits very firmly in the heart of the Darlington community.
So what's next? So we've mentioned obviously quite a few times the bicentenary, that's this year, and we've got a massive festival across Darlington and across the 26-mile line from Shildon to Stockton. So we've got exhibitions and festivals and art installations for that. As with regards to the interpretation, we're always monitoring it. There's been a few tweaks with any redevelopment project that we've had to make when we've seen a few errors like the wrong image or the wrong word, but not many, I think. Not many have been identified, which is quite good. And we're always looking to kind of help our colleagues in the sector as well. We've had a lot of people visit us to look at the site and talk to us about the redevelopment, what worked, what didn't. So that's really nice. I think before the redevelopment, we always thought of ourselves as a small little local authority museum. We were kind of like the poor relation, and now we feel like we're kind of locally, regionally, nationally important, and that's something we'd never felt before. We always think big, we always want to aim high, and thanks to this redevelopment project, that enables us to do that now. So yes, it's been amazing. So I must thank our funders, so obviously Darlington Borough Council and Tees Valley Combined Authority, the Lottery Heritage Fund, Arts Council. We also had Historic England, Rail Heritage Trust and Art Fund funding as well. Without them, the site wouldn't have been possible. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. We have time for about 1 or 2 questions. Anyone have any questions? Yep, one over here.
Hello. I wondered what the timescale was from concept to delivery and if that changed along the way.
So the Rail Heritage Quarter kind of concept started, I'd say, about 2018, 2019, and it definitely changed along the way as the funding increased and kind of aspirations increased as well. So we shut at the end of 2022, but obviously, as mentioned, the new build had started during 2022, and the project was between 2023 and the summer of 24. So it was a long time coming. It was quite interesting actually, because when I started as manager there at Head of Steam, they were on about shutting the museum. So to go from a venue that was possibly going to close to what at the start was a £20 million project to what ended up being a £37 million project was just amazing. But I think once the actual project started properly, I don't think the vision really changed much from there. I think it was quite consistent.
Yeah, we did some planning work, so we did an interpretive plan to follow on from the master plan that was set. We also looked at play, so we did a strategic review of what play could be on the site, which led to help the development of that. So,
Any more quick questions? Oh yeah, one over there.
Hello, did you do any benchmarking with like the rail enthusiasts, seeing as you did have a focus on families but also keeping to what they want to see as well?
Yeah, we worked with Friends of the Stockton Darlington Railway quite a lot to ensure that what we were producing was accurate, and we worked with our partners on the site. So because they were going to stay on the site, we talked to them about what they felt they would want as well, and local history groups in the town. So we did quite a lot of work with them to ensure that they were represented on the site, and it kind of we didn't lose that rail heritage kind of feel. The live engineering shed workshop is open. We have a view. I didn't mention this bit. So we have a bridge over the live line that takes you into a viewing gallery, and you can see them building the P2 Prince of Wales. So that's really exciting. And at the moment, they're building a line between the engineering shed and the 1861 shed, so we can run live steam between the two buildings. So we're hoping to have that up and running for the bicentenary. So we still work with them. We've got their opinion through the project. So it's really important that we're kind of making sure that the site's relevant to them as well as the families as well.
yeah, we were really lucky because with the bicentenary coming up, huge amounts of research through archive and things was being presented to us, and it was really just about engaging with partners to fact check it, make sure we were putting the right thing in. But we were even going down to things like the colour that they would have painted the locomotives at the time, which comes from historic references in paintings and all things like that. Quite a learning curve for all of us, I think.
Great, well I think that's our time. Thank you again to Jamie and Ilona.